there is one gaming franchise I've always had a soft spot for, aside from Halo, and of course the earlier Call of Duties, and Mass Effect, and Battlefield, and you get it. I have a lot of soft spots for certain gaming franchises, but the one that I have the soft spot for the most, because it has such an interesting world, such an interesting setup, such an interesting lore even, is of course Killzone. Killzone is one of those franchises that is just so interesting. It's realistic, yet, well, I wouldn't say realistic, it's more like it's grounded in reality, yet it's not at the same time. It is a game that had a rough start at the beginning, but found its footing in the second and third entry, and then the fourth entry was just kind of, wow. But, ladies and gentlemen, what I will say is this. Killzone has an interesting villain. Visari is an interesting amalgamation, in my mind, of Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini. He is pragmatic, yet he is authoritarian. He is caring for his people, yet he starves them and literally tries to kill them in a war that they can't win. It is one of those weird villains that you just don't know. Not only that, but the Helghast as a whole is a sympathetic people because they got the raw deal, and in my opinion, I'm more sympathetic to the Helghast than I am to the ISA, or even the Earth government as a whole, because if you know the backstory of the Helghast, as well as the lore leading up to the many conflicts in the in-universe canon, you would feel sympathy for the Helghast as well. Which leads to an interesting thought I had while I was listening to some music, and by music I mean listening to the Killzone soundtrack, because Killzone actually does have some very interesting music, I'm not gonna lie. What would happen if Harry Potter was Harry James Visari?
I don't like where this is going.
What would happen if our boy Harry Potter somehow, after, of course, avoiding being abused once again at, say, 4 years old, used magic to literally teleport himself towards the Killzone universe? To be exact, in the palace of Visari, and being adopted as his first son, the first prince. And then, of course, the daughter is born after. And because magic can basically be used as a means to timey-wimey bibbly-wobbly stuff, as of course said by, well, Doctor Who, and I actually do have a lot of Doctor Who DVDs, so yeah, I can make that joke. But seriously though, magic is a weird thing and can be used in this universe. I'm not talking about it being used to influence the war, because canonically speaking, you can have, one could have it to where, you know, Harry doesn't really participate in the conflict. Instead, he sees how this is going to pan out, but still helps his father in a way. But he is building up his own forces to make an exodus away from Helghan, and basically try and find a new home for the Helghast and rebuild. In this case, when the events of Killzone 2 happen and the nuke is set off, that's where Harry basically gathers up his people, gather up his forces, and literally makes the exodus away from Helghan. However, when using his special abilities, say, you know, he believes his abilities is because of a mutation, you know, things like that, because the past life is kind of gone, more or less. He doesn't really remember much about that past life of his. He uses his special powers that he believes was a mutation from Helghan to basically jump the fleet. Except in this case, it's not jumping to the past because, you know, his timeline is basically the same as the Helghast timeline, or the Killzone timeline. No. In reality, he goes back to his home dimension. Because unlike others, it's not a, oh, Harry Potter went to the future. It's Harry Potter went to a future of an alternate dimension, an alternate Earth, an alternate timeline. And brings back the Helghan his fleet back to the Sol system, and now having his memories unlocked of his past, he realizes that believing that this is their timeline, he could basically change it so a Helghan never falls from the Alpha Centauri system. He does two. You can have Harry in this case, Harry Visari, the now new, leader of the Helghan, the new Helghan Empire or the new Helghan Republic, basically take his people and not only go to Alpha Centauri and find Vecta, but also Helghan. Helghan could still be basically their homeworld, but Vecta is basically where, they basically have it to where Helghan is basically where they get their energy resources, but Vecta is where they live as a people. They still wear the iconic mask and red goggles because now that is a symbol of their people. And not only that, but they also, of course, colonize Mars and even have a base on the moon to basically monitor Earth. Not only that, but one of the people that comes with Harry is, of course, the son of Josef Stahl, of the Stahl Corporation, the corporation that makes not only the firearms for the Helghan military, but also the technology, the ships, everything. And as such, Josef Stahl's son works with Harry because, again, they've been friends for a very long time, and even helps, of course, study Harry's powers and realizes that there are actual communities of these same people. So he puts Stahl essentially in charge of monitoring these communities and the magical powers, study them, and at most capture some of them to basically learn more about it. And this is where things get kind of interesting. You see, Harry was basically left during the 80s. Here it is in the 90s, more or less, the early 90s, i.e. 1990, where, around 1990, 1991, where Harry would have essentially gotten his letter to Hogwarts. Here's the thing. The letter doesn't come because owls can't exactly go off into space. So Hogwarts doesn't find Harry Potter and assumes that he is dead. Because his relatives, after, of course, finding out about this, Stahl sends in his father's trained assassins to take out the Dursleys. In the name of the Visari. In the name of the Visari's revenge. That whole fanatical thing. At which point in time, they basically find out that the Dursleys are dead because, again, they're found murdered in their home. Their son taken. Which, of course, their son will be taken and brainwashed and turned into a loyal soldier, essentially being turned into a Colonel Reddick. Or at least a Colonel Reddick style type deal. Like, basically, he is being turned into a loyal soldier directly under the Visari. Now, they also do kidnap. In this time, between 1990 and 94, that's an important year, I can assure you, between those two periods, they do kidnap a few wizards. Some Muggleborn, some purebloods. When they learn enough from the purebloods, of course, some of those purebloods happen to have been Death Eaters, of course, and when they see the mark on them, they assume that these guys are basically criminals. And after learning about the Dark Mark, and of course the Death Eaters, all that, they basically just kill them off. They see them as nothing more than the Vectan dogs who they fought back in their original timeline. So, removing them from the equation basically makes it easier for them to take over. And that is, again, important. I may have let that slip, but again, that's important later on. As for the other magical users who were taken, they were Muggleborns. Those who lived in the wizarding communities and tell the Helghan and the Helgask exactly what is going on in these communities. Learning that the Muggleborns are being essentially oppressed, or, of course, as the original Scholar Visari once said,
"For many years, we have been a broken nation, shunned, oppressed, and conquered by those we sought to escape."
Harry Visari starts seeing similarities between the Muggleborns and the Helghan, the Helgas people, even going as far as to offering them a place in the Helghan Republic, a place among the stars. All he asks in return is loyalty. Loyalty to the Visari. to the Visari line, to the Helghan Republic, to the Helgas people, and as such starts subtly recruiting Muggleborns, even going as far as to sending in spies, i.e. Muggleborns who have joined the Helghan, the Helgask, into records to find newly discovered, basically, Muggleborns, and sending in agents to essentially get them out. As this goes on for the next 3 years, during this time period, there are, of course, a number of assassinations, targets being taken out, plans being laid, not only, of course, in the Muggle world, but also the magical world as well. A new magical corporation known as the Helgas Corporation is popped up in the magical world, presenting, of course, new technology, a magically powered technology, a TV, essentially, which allows what is going to happen in 1994 to be much, much easier.
Oh, hold on. I dropped my pen.
Now, as this time period is going on, Dumbledore and even Voldemort are scrambling to try and find Harry James Potter. But they can't find the boy. Even when 1994 rolls around, they both believe that the Goblet of Fire will be the thing that actually brings Harry James Potter to Hogwarts. So that way Dumbledore can basically turn him into a weapon for the light, while Voldemort, of course, believes that he will use him to have a body back again. What they don't know is that 1994, the choosing of the champions for the Triwizard Tournament is going to be the most memorable thing and the turning point in this timeline's history. For October of 1994, when the name Harry Potter comes out, instead of being summoned, something else happens. Magic takes over, and literally screens start appearing all over the place in Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, London. Even the TV screens in the Muggle world change over to a live broadcast from an unknown source. The governments of the world are trying to figure out where this source is coming from. Where is this hacked signal from? Only for the vintage of a now adult Harry Visari to step out onto a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of soldiers in gas masks and red glowing goggles, flags waving in the background as he gives a speech that shall be remembered for generations to come, a speech that literally tells about the world, about the Muggleborns, about those who the governments have oppressed, and how they have basically done everything they could to escape with an exodus for freedom. And how Helghan, the new Helghan Republic, became that freedom. And at the same time, telling the world that the Helgask have declared war on Earth.
Defenders of the Helgas dream, now is our time!
And from there, in the magical communities, the world over, alarms go off. In the magical communities, hidden sleeper agents become active. They begin setting off bombs. They begin attacking officials, aura departments, or in some cases, actual full-on magical military divisions. In the United States and the former Soviet Union, ICBM alarms are going off because they detect what they assume are nuclear missiles being sent to their countries. In reality, it's ships that are coming in low orbit and beginning bombarding targets, military-hardened targets, so that way they can try and weaken Earth's response to this invasion. The main target of this invasion? Africa and the Middle East. For if they take over Africa and the Middle East, that cuts off a very much so large supply of resources for Earth's war machine. Russia is also a target, as reports of Helghan troops are being landed, not only, of course, in Moscow, but also many other areas where large resources are. The main target of the Helghan operations are resource-rich targets. They want to take over the oil wells, the natural gas productions, anything that they can use to keep the militaries of the world from basically giving a fast response. The magical world is in a tizzy now because they have basically been brought into this war. Many purebloods thinking that they can fight these muggles with weapons because they have magic, only to be gunned down or exploded into red mist because of Stahl weapons or energy-based weapons from Petrosite. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the war of a world between Helghan and Earth of the past. Now, that's not to say that this war is going to be one-sided. In reality, Earth can still mount an effective response. What will happen, though, is that, much like during the Cold War, a large majority of the landmass will be taken. I.e., Earth, in this timeline, because of Harry's effectiveness and the Muggleborns, they will not only be able to take over the magical worlds and literally weaken their response, but also take over Africa and the Middle East. Essentially, the war, in my opinion, could last for a good while, at least until Earth responds with an effective counterattack against this invasion. And whether or not they continue the advance against the Helghan, the new Helghan Republic, into outer space and effectively fight them. But that, ladies and gentlemen, I leave to you in the comments section. Because the scenario I just presented to you was something that, in my opinion, no one has done before. No one has ever thought of what would happen if Harry Potter was raised in the Helghan Empire, the Helghask, and actually being brought under the semi-ideology of the Helghan. There has always been something along that line of a almost semi-dictator Harry Potter that has not been filled. And in my opinion, this is something that would actually be very fun to look at and something that could be done. I love Killzone because of not only its art style, but because of its aesthetics and its world. I do love it, and I would love to see someone take this idea and try and run with it. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments section down below what you think. And down below there as well, of course, is the PayPal, because if you want to help support the channel and give us the ability to basically have a Fallout neon sign right here where the SRU blueprints are, then please consider donating to the PayPal down below. Or if you want to help sponsor reviews or even help make the channel just a little bit more better, let us know. Again, donate down below, pin comment. But, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, if you have ideas that relate to Killzone as a whole, sound off in the comment section down below, and I shall see all you lovely, lovely people in the next video. Till next time, later.